Now, while I'm out here this morning flipping battery tenders, it is the coldest day of the year. It went down to single digits last night, but it's coming up. It's coming up quickly. It is already, I think, 12 or 15 degrees. But on a day like today, I'm so happy to work inside. So what I decided to do, because I have an indoor day here, I wanted to cut the windshield, get that all polished up and ready, so I have a choice of windshields. Now, pretty much every bike out here I have more than one windshield for. In fact, if you look up on our spare parts, we have the short windshield for this bike, and it turns out I like the longer one better. And I have the carbon fiber one for the FCR, but difficult to shoot video. Now, for this bike, the longer windshield is nice in the winter, but you can't shoot video with it. So I'm going to cut it to the stock size, maybe even a little bit shorter. And that'll be the project for today. It is really brutal out here. And we have the beginning of the pond freezing over. And for Chuck Holsapple's information, that's what we do all winter, is there's 4 different bubblers under there running that would normally be in a fish tank. Keep them running all winter. The fish are in total hibernation. They don't even move. They look like they're suspended on strings. Yeah, not much snow, but it's brutally, brutally cold. That coffee will taste so good today. Woo! Now in this temperature, it's for all purposes impossible to paint outside. So that's one reason sequencing and leapfrogging work in our favor, because we always schedule things so we have some indoor work today. I know how we'll start this day off, that's for sure. Whew! And our birds early in the morning, they don't care how cold it is. Just keep putting seeds out in the feeder all day, Grandpa Windy. Well, it's a good feeling to have all the snow removed off of the sidewalk and everything, but here's an even better feeling. Looking at our parts here, and we certainly have a lot of choices now, and because, again, leapfrogging and sequencing allow us the luxury of not being out in the cold today, where normally if we weren't doing this a different way, to be honest, we'd be out there freezing. So let me go through the history of these windshields, because this is kind of a significant thing, and I want to lay out what I want to try to do. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it as conveniently as I obviously don't do this every day, but we're going to give it our best shot, and we'll share it with you either way. Now, I know this may sound like overkill, but before I ever start a project like this, one of the things that I want to do, I check out some of my old videos, and in this case on my channel you just type in windscreen and a bunch of different videos. This one's got 2,000 hits, so somebody must have watched it, making a carbon fiber windscreen. But this is not what I want. I want to see the one of trimming a windscreen, and that's why we try to keep all that stuff out on the channel available. And this is one of the problems, is once you make, well, in this case, this is the carbon one again, another video. But here's the thing, I wanted to remind myself how I trimmed it and how I cut it. And to be honest, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And having a little video record on video is a big help to me, because basically my mind is not that good anymore. It wasn't that good to begin with either. Now here's what I'm looking for. On the FCR one, I had to do a lot of trimming, and this reminded me, the one thing about this plexiglass, you don't know if it comes from China or from Uzbekistan or United States, they all cut differently, and no matter what you do, it's an adventure. Here I am trying to fit the new FCR. This is from last year's video, but there's always a couple of reminders here and things I have to remember, and it's always a good idea for me while I'm having my coffee, check out some of these videos. And again, you can search the channel. You just put in the search window windshield and up come all of these videos, or tire changing, or you know, whatever. So the first thing I wanted to mention is there's a lot of things that I do every day. I take the garbage out, I wash the dishes, I paint things, I sand things. I do those every day, so I'm very comfortable, and I can basically be looking in the mirror and watching television while I do them. There's things I don't do every day, and you have to identify, I have to identify what I don't do every day. And if I'm not real comfortable, in this case, I don't want to crack these things a problem. I don't remember how much this cost, but they're not $10. I know that. Even the Chinese ones are more than that. and I don't want to crack it. So I know I have the stock one, which is, by the way, a totally different material. It's got a little bit different shape, and you can see it's a lot. There's a lot of material bigger. Now, that material, that's great on a cold one. When I used to ride right through the winter, and I mean right through the freezing outside, I loved having that high windshield. Then when I go to shoot video, I didn't like it so much because I'd only see half of it. So I thought the best of all worlds with this, because we're in the middle of doing the whole bike over, I would try to shorten this one to this and maybe go down 3/4 of an inch the most. That would be it. But I really I'm really careful about it because they are a different shape. So what I'm going to have to see is with the new mirrors on, when I'm done with this, I have to see if this is going to be a clearance issue. I don't know if it is. But either way, I want to have the shorter windshield because if I have to, I can always cut that back in. That's not a big deal to do that. But the first thing, because again, I'm out of my comfort zone, I wanted to watch some videos and remind myself, oh, what did I do wrong? How did I break that? I don't know. Not in my comfort zone here. And by the way, I have to really give somebody credit. I watched a video last night, somebody making a carbon fiber part for the first time. I always like to look at videos and I like to see, I always learn stuff from them too. And the guy admitted all along, I never did this before, I never did that before, and the part didn't come out in the end. But he learned from it. And what's great is you can share that so the next person down the road doesn't say, oh, let's try to cut this with scissors, or let's try to, let's put the turkey in the oven upside down or something, This is a learning experience for me because, again, I'm out of my comfort zone. I don't do this every day. So step one, I thought what I'd do here is I'd carefully clean this all up, get a little simple green on this because I'm going to be taping both sides. Now another thing, when you're doing this kind, and I see this has a lot of scratches, so I can get all those scratches out when I'm done. But it'll give me having two windshields will just be one little additional custom feature. And this one may look nicer, I don't know. But I don't like the height because I do like to share all my rides with my friends on video. Not everybody does that, so well, you can figure the rest out for yourself. So step one on this looks like what I should do, and I'm just evaluating this. I can somehow get some Gorilla Tape, hold these together. See, when you're trying to map out a different way of doing it, well, we'll figure this out. It's just a matter of time. Oh, it's just part of my work habit. I like to work with everything as clean as possible, especially when I'm out of my comfort zone. Now, there's certain things that I know, and when I was a partner in Joe Cassie's machine shop, I remember many times he would tell me, there's certain things, if you run a lathe all day and then you need to use the milling machine, get the guy that knows how to run the milling machine like you know how to use the lathe. Well, I wish I had such a person here. I don't think I have such a person. So cutting plexiglass, always a little bit of an issue, but I have a little way I can practice that I wanted to share, something that might work well for you. But I always, I'll clean both parts. And when I'm done, I'll polish both parts again because I know I might scratch it. I put extra towels on the table. I don't want to get anything gouged up any more than I have to. No, I wanted to make sure both of these are as clean as possible because we're going to be using tape on them. And I'd like to have accurate tape lines and stuff. So if I know these have wax and grease and grit and everything on them, especially this one. I know in the past, because I have done it, ask me how I know these things. I've wanted to shorten a windshield by an inch, let's say, or on the R1 I shortened the whole windshield for other reasons. I just didn't like the curve, and I changed the curve, and that's why I have so many windshields, because I butchered a few of them up. But the thing that I always remember is when you're cutting plexiglass, you're really not cutting it, you're burning through, and it would melt it and burn through. And I remember having done it, I'd just go out to the saw and take a jigsaw or something, a Dremel tool. I thought of all the ways that in the past that I've done it, but I wanted to try using the little hobby saw, the little jigsaw that I have, the table mounted saw. And I thought the first thing I need to do, and all of these things seem real simple until you go to do them, and then you find out, oops, I didn't take that into account. Well, this is one of them. Now, I had originally thought what I do is lay a piece of tape over here. I want to protect the plexiglass on both sides with tape. And I thought I'd use blue tape. Then I said, you know, it'd be better, Gorilla Tape would be better, since I can get the tape off and get the residue off. Because the tape, as I'm cutting, maybe it'll prevent scratches, I don't know. So instead of doing that, then I thought there's another way to do it. Since we're already trying to be creative here, I need to get these in position, which I can do pretty easily with, just put some Gorilla Tape on it even. I don't even need to, I don't want to do the screws because they don't really, when you put this inside, they don't exactly line up. So I'll do this. Step one on this whole thing is going to be to get this in position. Let's get these that the holes look like they line up. And I guess this would be the smartest thing to work from this side, since the saw is going to have to go in from this side. See, when you're out of your comfort zone, you got to think every little thing through before you do it. Now with those two pieces, they're taped together so that the holes are in alignment. Even though they're not in alignment they're in alignment front to back, they're not aligned here. Because you can see, because of the thickness of the part, we have to do that and leave that adjustment. Now, what I did, if you look straight from the top, on the top view, I've laid out a piece of blue tape. This is just to give me an indication where that's going to be. Now the next step is I can take that off. I'm done with that. I don't need that anymore. So what this is, this would be where the stock windshield ends. But I want this shortened by about 1 inch. And so what I'm going to do, look at this, you can tell we're down the bottom of the barrel. I'm going to get a new roll of tape is what I'm going to do. And I'll lay this out with 2 thicknesses. Now it is easier to lay multiples of thin tape. If you try to lay thick tape out, it doesn't want to bend around the corners. So I think if I lay 2 or 3 thicknesses, and I'll have to look at it when I'm done, that's going to give me exactly where I want to make the cut. And that's what I need to establish, is where the cut is going to be. Now what's going to be really good is I'll have a lot of material left over to try little practice cuts to see what speed the saw can be at. And I have the blade with the finest teeth. I'm sure that's the one that'll work on this. And what speed to run the saw at. So I'll have plenty of material to experiment with. Of course, it would be nice if we had a spare windshield. That would always be the best thing. But in essence, we're going to learn something and hopefully be able to pass it on. Now, there's a lot of things in life that look real easy when somebody that's in their comfort zone is doing them. And when you're out of your comfort zone, I always think when you see a person that's a mason, mixed concrete, they don't waste any motion. They have exactly the right technique. You go to do it and you break your rear end. Well, sometimes there's a learning curve, and that's what we're going to be experiencing here, because I don't have a spare windshield to break. I'd have to buy another one if this cracks. But I do want to, and see, the thing that I really like about the way I approach things, I'm always willing to learn. If you go to college, there's a tuition. Well, if you want to learn how to do things, if you want to be a person that works with your hands, the problem is that it's not free. You got to break some parts. And I'm sure if you're an engine guy, you strip bolts or you do other things that, well, and I know people like Vince that they're good electricians. Every once in a while, you know, they set the house on fire. So Vince, I hate to say that, but I hate electricity. Anyway, I think if I put one more piece of this tape down, and there's a lot of things in life that look real easy until you go to do them, and then you say, oh man, get that, where you think in your mind, you say, oh, just take the saw. No. It's not like that at all. Now, I've established that this is exactly where I want the saw to go. So what I'm going to do is strip out some Gorilla Tape about 1/2 inch on each side, because I want to support the plexiglass. I don't want to be going into raw plexiglass. Then what I'm going to have to do is on the other side, I'm going to cover this whole side with Gorilla Tape, because this is the side that's going to be touching the saw bed. I don't want to scratch this unnecessarily, but if I do, I'll have to polish it out. And we've got plenty of polish for doing that. And by the way, the stuff that works real good on plexiglass is that the stuff they make for car lenses. It works real good. Stripped off, and again, stripped off the Gorilla Tape. I want to leave just enough of that frog tape, that green tape, in that I can see the line with the saw. Again, this always looks easier to do when somebody else is doing it. It's like being a parent. Everybody's a great parent until you have children. Everybody has grandiose plans until you go to cut plexiglass. Now, even if this breaks, I'm not going to edit the video out or whatever. Because I'm trying to pass on information, and sometimes passing on information, what not to do, is just as good as passing on how to do it. Or you help somebody avoid screwing their project up, or making carbon fiber parts that don't come out of the mold, or whatever. There's always something to learn. Now what I know is I don't care if it scratches up here, but from here down I don't want it to scratch. So I'm going to try to protect it from the table. In fact, maybe I should put some Gorilla Tape on the table too, just to prevent. See, I don't want to make it that it's a springboard either. But if I can do this just to protect it. And like everything in life, and like everything that I ever do, it starts out being easy, and when you try to do it the correct way, the right way, sometimes it gets a little involved. And then when you get fussy about the outcome, it gets even more difficult. And then when you try to keep costs to a minimum, it gets even more difficult. Now, of course, I could do it in thicker layers of tape, but then it would be wrinkly. By doing it in strips like this, I strip the duct tape off. It's Gorilla Tape. I'm so used to saying duct tape. But anyway, Gorilla Tape is such a useful thing to have in your inventory of stuff, and this is one of the things it's good for. Now I'm hoping, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go more than that even. I just don't want to take a chance that I put a big gouge in this for no reason. That no. I guess we're going to find out here sooner or later. So I tried to protect as much as I could the side of this that's going to be facing the saw. I don't really care about this. I just don't want it in my way. And these are what usually happens. There's static involved, and the little dust goes everywhere, and we'll put an old towel down and then just take it and shake it off. But at least we'll have some protection for the part of this that we're ultimately going to be on the front of the motorcycle. So this will be our cut line, and we'll try to get it as accurate as possible, of course. And the other side, the flip side, the part of it that we're going to see, this part we're not is going to get cut off. This, of course, we're going to, well, there'll be a cut here, and I'll have to get that nice and even and smooth, and that may be a little bit of a challenge, but we've done it before. But plexiglass can be challenging to work with, and it cracks. That's the problem. I'm not sure if this is going to work like I have planned, but again, the only way you're going to know is if you try it. So I'm going to put that tape right up on there. Hopefully that'll somewhat protect it anyway. And the tape is relatively cheap relative to buying a new windshield if we crack this one. Brand new Ryobi blade. I got to make sure I say with I might not want to put it in upside down. Every hobbyist in the world, every model airplane builder knows about us having a scroll saw, how important it is. And it's a very versatile tool. But one of the things most people don't realize is if you don't have a sharp blade, it's a 20 teeth per inch blade. I don't know if it would be of my advantage to have different teeth because I don't cut this that often. But anyway, Turbo Steve is over at Harbor Freight. He's going to stop by for a visit. And, well, maybe by then we'll already have cracked the windshield. So the first thing I want to do, this saw has 2 speeds. I want to see which speed on the part that I'm not going to use is going to cut the best. And the idea is to keep the part from doing this, from jiggling around. That looks pretty good. Let's see if it works on the high speed. You can smell it though, the plexiglass, you're not cutting, you're burning through. Now I can look at the cuts. I know you can't see this on the video, but what happens when you do the high speed, let me try to get a close-up of this. This is really critical. This camera doesn't have a really good macro lens, but let me show you what happened. This is the slow speed cut. And this is the high speed cut. And see what happens, because it's high speed, you're burning your way through. And as you're burning, the material is welding itself back together and it's making a mess. So evaluate this now. This is the slow speed cut, high speed cut. I think we'll go with the slow speed cut and just be very, very, well, it's going to take a few minutes. And if we have to, we'll put the thing on 10 times fast forward. So we did that little test with the low speed being the better of the two speeds, so put it on low speed. And this'll just take a little time to do this cut. I guess I cut from this side easier. And I don't care about scratching this, but I don't want to scratch that, so the idea is to hold this as tight as possible. Boy, the smell of burning plexiglass is disgusting. And I'm not pushing it real hard. I'm trying to do it gently. Now at this slow speed, I know it's going to take maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes to get this cut, but I'm not welding the part behind me. Now because of the throat of the saw, I can't go all the way through one way. I can only go so far, and I got to come out and go back the other way. I may have to move the camera just a little bit. But it looks like we're going to be able to do this. Now, of course, I'll keep this piece of plastic just the way it is. Put it in my scrap thing for experimenting in the future or whatever. Now, I know several people, John Pathia for one, have made windshields by buying plexiglass, heating it in an oven and making it turn that shape. And it's a little above my pay grade because this is not my comfort zone. I'd rather paint something, to be honest. Okay, so now we have this part, but now I have to dress off that edge. And that may be a little labor intensive. I'll do it by hand, of course. Most of it anyway. Let's see, that cut is actually not too bad. It's actually pretty good. So step one is, and I'll do it off camera, I'll heat the tape, pull all this tape off. We're done with, yeah, I guess we're done with the tape. Now after you move the saw away, there's this residue from the cut. I don't want that. I don't want to breathe it in, and because Miles will be here later today, I don't want him breathing it in. I don't want anybody breathing it in, even the mice that live in the house. Looking over the final cut, it actually is way better than I thought it would be. I've got to radius these edges off. I don't want to go sailing over the handlebars and whatever, cut myself. And I went out to the garage and just hold it in place. It looked great. Now it doesn't look like we have any issues here. No real scratches or anything. So what I need to do is get a sanding block and just dress this edge off nice and straight. Now I started off with 180 grit. I don't know how. I was tempted to run over to the belt sander, but you know what? Too much of a chance I'm going to crack it. I think there's way less chance if I just do everything by hand. And at this point, I don't want to run the risk of cracking it. I'm very happy that I got this far. But boy, the smell of that plexiglass when you're cutting it, oh my God. It's like roadkill, it's terrible. So what I'll do is take this down with 180 and then I'll maybe get some 600, wet and dry, try to get that edge real nice and then even buff it. Because that edge, I would like to have that edge. See, the edge on this is nice and smooth. Yeah, I want to have a little bit of a radius on that, but amazing that it came out this good. Now what I thought might work, I'll start with 600 and work my way down to, you know, a couple of grits down to 2,000 even. And then I could run this, I could actually run it, I'm going to polish this. Just run the buffer along the edge to get a radius maybe, I don't know. I would like to have that really nice smooth edge here. And I don't want anything sharp up here. This, I don't want to have. A lot of times you don't think this through. Something that looks real cool when you go sailing off the bike, doing a wheelie or something. Not that cool. Oh, look, a piece of tape still on here. I didn't even know that. But anyway, this is the part. Now we're out of the no comfort zone and into the comfort zone. We're getting things block sanded, polished, buffed. You're in my comfort zone now. And as I explain to people, after doing this for way over 50 years, you're comfortable doing it. You know, no matter what you screw up, there's a way to get around it. There's a trick to everything. Steve arrived, the red shoes worked. Boy, if you can't do something good, just have red shoes. That works.
There are only 3 colors in the world.
Red, white, and black, I know. Valentino Rossi colors.
Matter of fact, a little bit of red here.
Yeah, I know. You guys have
The boomerang bike.
you guys have a little bit different taste than I do. Just different.
This looks good.
So far.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming. The carbon fiber came out outstanding. All of the carbon fiber. This is not paint, you know. That's carbon fiber.
Oh yeah, well, I'm the only one watching your video.
Yeah, I know. I see. There's only 2,000 hits on the last 2. I saw that.
It's just
It's a layer of carbon fiber,
layer
yeah,
of
on
carbon
top of the part.
Yeah, it looks so deep. You could like look into it.
Oh yeah. Oh, Steve's phone rings. It sounds like his bike. I think he's answered. It's probably your best friend.
Hey babe, I'm over at Wendy's.
So Steve generously brought us over a supply of tack cloths. Something we use like Kleenex and paper towels here. What do you got to do? You need a hugger?
Yeah, I need a hugger, but this is too wide because my tire's like that.
Well, but this is a front fender. You can't use that in the back.
No, but this would work in the back.
That hugger will probably work. That Kawasaki one. You can get them from Partzilla.
Yeah, this here?
No, the hugger is right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not buffed out yet, so I know you're a very critical guy to paint.
No, but that doesn't do shit there. This does something. This does something. This is just.
You know what I got up in this? I have an R1 hugger. You think that'll do you any good? I could go out in the garage and look for it if it wasn't so cold.
Yeah, when you see it, I mean, if I could, you know, I'm gonna have to cut it.
No, you can have it because I made a carbon fiber one. So Steve decided I wanted to give him his Christmas present early, the Stromboli from Aldi. Now you're gonna tell me you're gonna go home and eat that tonight. I'm sure you are.
I have to.
Or you'll be sick.
What I got to do is I'm gonna put it on the engine so it heats up because I can't bring it into the house.
Oh.
The wife will flip.
Once you have this, give half to your wife.
No, she won't eat it.
Make her eat it. Force her.
I put it on the engine. It heats up. I get out. I open the hood. I sit in the car in the driveway and I eat it because I can't.
You warm up your
She'll smell it.
Stromboli.
If I bring it into the house, she'll.
Actually, if you look at the back, you'll see something. It says Turbo Stromboli.
Turbo.
Turbo Stromboli. So it was really good seeing Steve here right before Christmas time, and obviously this time of year we enjoy interacting with our friends and hanging out with them and hearing about his great adventure at the Javits show where he won the first prize for the best paint, and he made some new friends, and of course he has a nice website, a nice way he communicates with people too. But anyway, as I work my way down through the grits, I see I need to get this perfectly flat so there's no saw marks in it before I can buff it. So it's just going to take a little time. I'll do the rest of it off camera. This is going to be a little bit labor intensive because I want to get that radius and I want to get that corner. Again, I don't want to have something that I'm going to catch if we ever wind up going over the handlebars. Not that we ever do that. Now I've gone down through various grits until I want to try to get the edge of this real close. There is no saw marks in it. Now when we started it had all little zigzaggy saw marks. Now that's ready, I think that's ready to buff. So I think we've been very lucky, number one, and I think the tape on there, see, normally if I had scratches here or something I had to deal with, buffing that edge out will be a piece of cake, because then I'm going to buff the whole part out. I'm not sure you can see the quality of that edge, but there's no saw marks in it. It's nice and shiny. It matches the edges perfectly. And so I have to think, even though we're out of our comfort zone here, we've managed to get a usable, a very nice part, in fact. And that's going to give us one more choice when we assemble a motorcycle or do Evil Twins or anything. It's always to our advantage to have spare parts. So this is going to give me a lot of choices, and choices are what I always want. Now the final step on this, I want to do a little, there's very few scratches in this part. There's still a few in those I didn't get out the first time I buffed it, but as long as I have time today and it's so cold outside, we're still in the teens, and Turbo Steve escaped. I thought he was going to help me buff these out. Anyway, he has his Stromboli to buff out. And just like with paint, I've had good luck using this 4CR. This has been a good buffing product. I'll get a new pad on the buffing wheel and get cracking. Now, considering this is a part that I'm way out of my comfort zone working on, the edge came out every bit as shiny as this. There's no saw marks, there's no cracks. I'd say that's the way we showed doing this worked out pretty well for us. Maybe it'll work out well for you. But I would certainly, I know there are other ways to do this, and people that do this on a regular basis probably have a special saw blade or something, but that was an ordinary Ryobi 20-tooth blade on a slow speed and the 4CR compound, and I think that's ready to test fit on a motorcycle. Well, this came out just as good as I could have ever expected here, and I always like when you can do something on your own that you don't have to buy off the internet, and you can do it right in your own shop. This is certainly one part that worked out great. That edge in the back looks every bit as shiny as the front. It's like a factory part you'd never notice was customized or made special or in any way changed. And what it also allows me to do, if I ever want to change the shape, it is put a different curve in it. Who the hell knows what? Nobody knows. But anyway, I know you're going to be receiving this video right before Christmas time. So I just want to, from Karen and I and my whole family, wish your family a very, very Merry Christmas and good luck with your restoration projects. And thanks for watching.